What is your message to Zelensky when he comes to the Capitol on Thursday? He wants more money from Congress. He claims that he says it's very important to stopping the war in Ukraine. What message does it send that so many conservatives are opposed to more money for Ukraine?
The first thing I'll tell you is there's no money in the House right now for Ukraine. There's just not. It's not there.
You mean there's no support for money?
No. And to be blunt, we're running a $2 trillion deficit. Any money we give to Ukraine, we're borrowing from our future. That's the facts. Those are the truth. You feel how you want to feel about it. I'm here to tell you what's right and what's real. Look, it's not a good time for him to be here, quite frankly. That's just the reality. And the third piece is what's happened with Ukraine is frankly the fault of leadership of Joe Biden. Let's be very clear of that. So don't put that on the backs of the American people now. If we had a commander-in-chief who knew how to lead as opposed to take naps, then we would be in a much better situation when it comes to Ukraine and global security for that matter.
Dang, that is the amazing Florida Congressman Byron Daniels, someone who's actually being floated around as a potential VP candidate for number 47. But as we're going to see in this video, the truth bombs that he just dropped there are becoming increasingly undeniable, even for the most hardened leftist media types. They're finally admitting the truth about Ukraine, a truth we've been reporting on for well over a year now. We're going to savor that admission and see what it all means for the world moving forward. Hey, gang, it's me, Dr. Steve, your Patriot professor, here to help you think better so you can feel better in these crazy and turbulent times. If you haven't already done so, you know what to do. Make sure to smack that bell and subscribe button. Also, if you would be so kind, please share this video with friends and family. We're once again, unfortunately, being suppressed by big tech, so I need your help to get the hopeful message of this channel out to as many people as possible. Now, as many of you know, Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky was in New York yesterday speaking in front of the United Nations, an assembly where virtually every major world leader is skipping. They're not giving it the time of day. And perhaps it's because of speeches like this.
Even though humanity is failing on its climate policy objectives, this means that extreme weather will still impact the normal global life, and some evil state will also weaponize its outcomes. And when people in the streets of New York and other cities of the world went out on climate protest, we all have seen them. And when people in Morocco and Libya and other countries die as a result of natural disasters, and when islands and countries disappear underwater, and when tornadoes and deserts are spreading into new territories, and when all of this is happening, one unnatural disaster in Moscow decided to launch a big war and kill tens of thousands of people.
That's right. That's Zelensky channeling his inner Greta and lecturing the world about climate change. I mean, according to Zelensky's latest spin, you just heard it. The evil Vladimir Putin exploited the horrors of climate change to launch an invasion of Ukraine. If you don't see what a pathetic puppet this guy is, I just can't help you. This guy will literally say anything the demons in Davos or the bullies in Brussels stick in his mouth. The hilarious Babylon Bee exposed the obvious here with the satirical headline, Zelensky passes around offering plate during UN speech. Yes. As you can see, no one's buying this clown anymore. Obviously, nobody wants to see war. Obviously, nobody wants to see the carnage and the death. We don't want to see a nation invaded or anything like that. But there is a growing sense that what's happening in Eastern Europe, in Ukraine, is the latest in a 1,000-year history that's very complex, that we know next to nothing about, and we have no place in taking part in it. According to the latest Wall Street Journal poll, 52% of Americans disapprove of the way bumbling Biden has handled the Ukraine crisis. Most respondents in the poll think we've done way too much with regard to Ukraine, and they generally want an end to our pouring oil on the fire, as it were. And now it looks like the legacy media is finally beginning to admit the truth about Ukraine. But first, gang, if you're a patriot and you're not prepared to defend your home and your family, you need to click on that link below right now before you do anything else and visit our good friends over at Countrywide Concealed and get your concealed carry permit once and for all. If you're like me, you've been putting this off. You've always wanted to do it. You've always meant to do it. But you've been put off because of all the pathetic, ridiculous barriers and requirements, the hassle, the pain of getting what's ironically our constitutional right. Well, guess what? There's now an amazing solution to all of that hassle, to all of that pain. Countrywide Concealed is probably the quickest and easiest way for you to get your permit. And the coolest thing is that the permit is good in the vast majority of the country. So you won't just get a permit to conceal carry in your own state, you also get it in 84% of the whole of the nation. It's as quick and as easy as just watching a video, taking a quiz, and thanks to Countrywide Concealed, your family is that much safer no matter where you go. Getting a concealed carry license has literally never been easier. Click on that link below and join the millions of patriots who've taken back their rights with Countrywide Concealed today. Take a look at this headline from Newsweek, gang. We can no longer hide the truth about the Russia-Ukraine war. It's a piece written by a fellow named Daniel Davis, a senior fellow at Defense Priorities. And I mean, just gnaw on that headline there. We can no longer hide the truth, which of course is an admission. It's an admission that the regime and its surrogates in the legacy media have all been lying. They've been flat out lying about what's going on in Ukraine. Now, the article roots reality in the highly touted counteroffensive by Ukraine that began at the beginning of June. I should say it was highly touted in the lead up to that counteroffensive. But you may have noticed we didn't hear anything about it after it began. And that's because that much touted counteroffensive was an abject disaster. The Russian front lines in Ukraine are, according to Colonel Douglas McGregor, they are the single most fortified areas on the planet. There was never been any way for Ukraine's already radically depleted and spent forces to realistically break through those lines. Well, that's exactly what this article is admitting. In fact, it's even more tragic. That failed counteroffensive cost tens of thousands of Ukrainian lives. The New York Times is reporting that upwards of 50,000 Ukrainians were killed this summer alone. Hundreds of thousands were wounded, taken out permanently out of contention to ever fight again. Here's how this fellow's assessment, it's writing for Newsweek, here's how he put it, quote, Washington has spent nearly $113 billion over the course of this war, provided Ukraine with an astounding volume of modern arms and ammunition, and delivered an impressive array of training and intelligence support. After almost a year of preparation, it hardly dented the Russian lines. After all the endless bellicose nonsense we've heard from the lamestream media, how Ukraine was going to take back all their lost land, even Crimea. After all that patent nonsense, the Russian fortifications weren't even so much as dented. NATO officially basically came out and said, that's it. Ukraine is going to have to cede the lost territory. But perhaps we can give them NATO membership as consolation, which of course isn't going to happen, the NATO membership, that is. Not while Ukraine is in a state of war. But this Newsweek article is echoing very much the sentiment. It's now time to negotiate a peace on the best possible terms for Kiev, recognizing that the territory that's been annexed to Russia, the regions of Donetsk, Lugansk, Kherson, Zaporozhye, Crimea, they're permanently gone. They're not getting them back. Precisely what we have been arguing for the last year, ever since the annexation ceremony a year ago this month. So what does all of this mean? Well, in many respects, the Ukraine debacle makes the failed Afghanistan withdrawal look brilliant by comparison. We were told by the incontinent-in-chief himself that 300,000 well-trained Afghan troops were enough to stave off any attack by the Taliban. There's no way Kabul will ever fall. No way! And here we are again. Here we are. Months after months after months after months. Oh, there's no way Russia can win this. The Ukrainians are they're too tough, and NATO equipment is too technologically advanced, and the Russians are too drunk and stupid. No way they can win this. Putin regime is collapsing. The Russian people have had enough. Oh! Yeah, those same Russian people that give Putin an 80% approval rating. I mean, it's tragic to see just how far the West has fallen with this current crop of corrupt leaders. Let's pray that our populations finally turn on those leaders and vote in fellow patriots who will finally bring an end to this catastrophe of both Ukraine and our incompetent elite.
Hey gang, I know what it's like to feel alone out there in these turbulent times, but I broke free. If you too have been looking for a community with like-minded patriots who are serious about resisting globalism, building a parallel economy, and having intelligent and deep fellowship on a regular basis, then you've come to the right place. In my Courageous Patriot Insiders community, we're building a close-knit movement of, by, and for patriots who are breaking free from the outrage and despair cycles of the mainstream media and taking on the fight against globalism. Every week, I deep dive into the content I can't share on big tech and give you the cliff notes on the truth of how patriots just like you are building up their communities, starting patriot businesses, and fighting the woke in both public and private. All with a few history and political lessons from yours truly, of course. If you want to stop feeling alone as a patriot and stand together with this fast-growing community, be sure to click on the link in the description below. Don't wait. Join me and my Patriot Coalition today, and let's get fighting.